I'm Sarah and you're watching Acid Burn Say, and today I am going to be talking about the books that I read in June. So the first book that I read in June this year was The Princess Diarist by Carrie Fisher. This is a memoir of Carrie Fisher's. She found a set of diaries that she wrote whenever she was filming, I think it was the first Star Wars, and this is basically her memoir about it, sort of setting the scenes, and then she puts them on. And mostly they're poems and they don't really make sense because she was drug induced for most of it. So yeah, it was really enjoyable. I read the book and listened to the audiobook, so it was lovely to hear her speaking. I don't think she died not long after the publication of it, so yeah, it was interesting to hear her talk about it and to hear about her talk about her mother and other things, as well as her affair with Harrison Ford. As you know, I am not a big one to rate memoirs themselves. I did enjoy this one. However, I'm glad I listened to the audiobook of it because it really felt like she was there. But I do like to listen to the audiobooks of memoirs if I can, if they're narrated by the writer themselves. So it was very enjoyable. I do recommend it. However, it isn't a full version of her life. So she gets to a certain point and then just talks a little bit about Star Wars and then just sort of jumps ahead sort of now. So yeah. The second book that I read in June was Shelter Mountain by Robyn Carr. I had read in January, I had read Virgin River. This is a fictional book by Mills and Boon, and it is the sequel to Virgin River, which is a romance. You might know the Netflix series. This book follows Paige, who is new to town, and it follows Preacher. And if you have watched the Netflix series, you know who Paige and Preacher are because they are in season 1. And most of the stuff that happens in this book happens in season 1 of Virgin River. So yes, Paige is a domestic abuse victim and she is running away from her husband, and she has run away to Virgin River, and that is what this one is about. However, you do get to see what's happening with the characters from the first Virgin River book, and I will be carrying on with the series because I know I had some issues with the first Virgin River book, but this one was actually really enjoyable, and maybe I just overlooked the issues that were from the first Virgin River book, but no, I actually really enjoyed Shelter Mountain and everything. So yes, I will be carrying on with it. The third book that I read was It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. This was my first Tessa Bailey book, and I started to read it because it had the word summer in it, and we're in the summer, so that's truthfully why I read it. But yeah. This is about a rich girl who parties a bit too much, and her stepfather sends her away and cuts her off and throws her into a fishing village where her birth father was from. And so yeah, I expected, I think, a bit more from this book than what it gave me, and so I think that's why I have so many issues with it. But I wasn't a big fan of it. I didn't really enjoy it that much. I had the sequel on hold at the library, and I'm sort of half tempted if I want to listen to the sequel or not. It may have a bit more to say, but at the moment I'm not holding up much hope for it, but we'll see. I might read the sequel, I may not, but considering this is my first Tessa Bailey, I wasn't too impressed with it because I felt like there was so much potential for it that it didn't go about. I was gonna say it was easy enough to read and everything, but the character did just keep calling out her baby and like other things, and yeah, I had issues with, because I felt like, I mean, she was apparently cut off, but she was given enough money to live on, and she was able to do all this stuff with the money that he had given her, and it was just a bit weird. The fourth book that I read was The Pearl Sister by Lucinda, and any of you who know me know that I have been trying to get through the 7 sisters at the moment, and this is about the 4th sister, Cece, and it is mostly set in Australia. We end up in Australia. If you don't know the 7 sisters, the 7 sisters is about 6 sisters that were adopted by Passelt, who is a rich billionaire, and he adopts them, and when he dies, he leaves them clues as to where they are actually from. Cece has gotten her clues, and she has gone to Australia to find out about her family, looking at the pearl industry in Australia. And there's so much in this book that I didn't know. I didn't know about Australia. I didn't know, truthfully, that there was natives in Australia whenever it was taken over. And I think it's because I've never really heard about the natives of Australia. And there's so much of Australia I don't know, and it was interesting to find out because no one really talks about this. And that's why I really like Lucinda Riley's 7 Sisters books, because it's stuff I've never heard of. It's historical fiction, yes, but it is facts that I've never heard before, which I really, really enjoy. I really like that, that I'm learning about that there were natives in Australia, and about the pearl industry, that there was a pearl industry in Australia. And yeah, so it was all very, very interesting, and I thoroughly really recommend this series. The latest book, Atlas, the Story of Passelt, is the last book, and it only came out there in May. This one, she is in Thailand for a little bit, so it's really nice because there was this lovely sunny weather, and I was reading about beaches in Thailand. So it was great, and reading about Australia. And I don't really read books about Australia, so it was really, really, really interesting. I highly, highly enjoyed it, because I didn't like Cece as a character in the other books, but in her book, you could understand her a bit more and understand what was going on. So I really love books like that. So is it my favorite in the series? I don't know. Every book in this series, I keep saying, oh my goodness, it's my favorite of it. But I did really like Kitty's story. Kitty is the ancestor that we were learning about in it. The 5th book that I read in June was Beach Read by Emily Henry. Sorry, Artemis is a little bit lonely. She's like, why are you ignoring me? In this book, it is about 2 authors who end up switching genres. They take a bet, and that is the premise. That was the premise of the book, and that's what I knew going into it. And that's the thing with Emily Henry's books, they never are just what they say in the tin. And that is why I love Emily Henry as a romance writer. I think she is amazing. She is someone who, it's never just what it says in the tin. There's actual depth to it. There's actual story. She is just amazing. She is such an amazing author. So glad I've been able to read her books. She is amazing. This book is so much more than that. This book, whenever you compare hers and Tessa Bailey's book, It Happened One Summer, it's like, a kiddie pool. Hers is kiddie pool, whereas Emily Henry's book is an actual swimming pool. There's actual depth, actual story. I think I just hold everything now up to Emily Henry's standards, because she's amazing. This book is more than authors switching genres, and this is about a girl whose father dies. January Andrews, her father dies, and she has left this house, and this house holds many secrets. This is a house that she didn't know about when her father was alive, and feels like her father has betrayed her family. And the person next door is her arch nemesis. So it's a enemies to lovers book to begin with. It is a romance enemies to lovers, and she is in dire writer's block. She is a romance author who has lost hope in romance after her finding out her father has been lying. So she can't write, and so they make a bet and they swap genres because she has writer's block. And so she writes her version of dark and twisty earth-shattering drama. A contemporary, whatever we want to call it. And he writes a romance book. And so Emily Henry describes this book as a book about writer's block. And that is essentially what it is. It is a book about writer's block, but it is so much more than that, and it is epic and brilliant. And I can't rave about this book enough. It is simple and just lovely. This last book that I read in June was An Arrow to the Moon by Emily Carr. I had started this in, I think, May. Oh no, actually I started this in April, and I think I started it because I borrowed it from the library. I then didn't finish it within the time that I was meant to finish it with the library, and so the library then took it off me, and I hadn't finished it. I was about 78% into it, and so I finished it this month. I got it back and I finished it within a day because I didn't have that much to read. But this is a YA fantasy. It is it is a retelling, same Asian story that is used in The Daughter of the Moon Goddess. It is about the moon goddess and the hunter. Not 100% what we call him, sorry. This is about Luna and Hunter, who are two teenagers but aren't normal teenagers. Hunter's father is on the run. It's very confusing. I wasn't too impressed with it. However, it could be because I read Daughter of the Moon Goddess in May and really loved it. And whenever I realized this is what this story was about, you can't compare the two. Really can't compare the two. I wasn't overly impressed with this book. Yeah, and the ending was a bit naff. But it is what it is. Alright. It was just alright. You had a forbidden love, Romeo and Juliet, who aren't allowed to be with each other. Their fathers don't like each other, and none of the families like each other, and so it's like a forbidden romance. So yes, and teen love. So yes, there's a lot of weird stuff going on. Well, anyway, I still am very confused by the ending, but it is what it is, right? So yes, so those are the 6 books that I read this month. Please share with me what you read this month and what was your favourite book this month. I know what mine was. Actually, no, I don't. I'm stuck. It's like a toss between Beetroot. Beetroot by Emily Henry and The Pearl Sister by Lucinda Riley. A torn. Anyway, so if you like this video, please like, and if you would like more of my content, please subscribe. I aim to post every Thursday, and sometimes with bonus content on a Tuesday, depending on how my week goes. But yeah, so yeah, thank you so much for watching, and please enjoy your day. I'm going to go eat my takeaway. So yeah, enjoy your evening. Bye. Thank you. Bye. Oh, she's sleeping. Sorry. She's like, I'm dead to the world.